So Alessandro, thank you so much for joining us in our Audi while we drive around Amsterdam for our little car interviews. Do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are and maybe some of your background?
Yeah, of course. Thanks. It's my first car interview, so there's a first for everything.
Yeah, right.
I'm Italian and I'm from the south of Italy, and I moved to Amsterdam 20 years ago to get my PhD in chemistry, of all things.
Of course.
So I have a background in science, and I'm a big science nerd. And I also been around open source for a long time. I was part of the Linux user group in my own town.
Okay.
And been doing, I remember installing Linux in 1999, those kind of things. Then I moved and I finished my PhD, and then I reinvent myself as a IT professional.
Okay, all right.
And ever since, I never looked back. It was a great decision.
Right.
And I'm here now, and since 10 years, really, I've been organizing tech communities, meetups, mostly, in Amsterdam. Started with DevOps Days 10 years ago, you know, when DevOps wasn't
quite so well known.
No, it was a year after the first DevOps Days in Ghent.
Yeah.
And then I quite like it. Like, it's my thing. The community is really what drives me. Like, seeing people connecting to each other, being happy. It was absolutely my first, the thing that I do best, and I think that I enjoy the most.
Yeah.
And then from there I move on to different communities. I did OpenStack for a while, joined Red Hat, and then eventually I founded the Kubernetes meetup in Amsterdam, and that's where I am now. I enjoy it so much that I don't want to stop.
So I have to ask, because I'll tell you why in a minute, but what kind of chemistry were you doing?
So I was a synthetic and spectroscopy.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
my stepfather was organic chemistry and did mostly fMRI and spectroscopy.
Yeah.
So that's why I had to ask.
It's fascinating. I was doing ultra fast laser spectroscopy. So I spent most of 4 years in a dark room with mirrors and lasers
and really bright lights.
And I also like, now I like a lot techno music, so I'm also in a dark room with lasers.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny. Also about DevOps Days, it's amusing because I thought it was like 10 years ago, but maybe it was more recent than that, because it wasn't one of the earliest, but I actually co-founded the DevOps Days in Boston.
Yes.
But it was, it was interesting.
It was the first embryo of a community of conferences.
Yeah,
right? So united by the fact that we love the technology, right? But we love even more to be together.
Well, and what I loved about what DevOps Days really brought to the table that nobody else had really done was like a templating. Here is a template for running your conference. Yeah. Here's all the things you need. You need somebody doing vendor stuff. Here's how to build the website. Here's some promotion for it. It was just so well organized. Yeah. And I was so impressed.
You gotta give it to Patrick Dubois and the very first group of DevOps pioneers to start this whole thing. It's amazing. It's still going on. Yeah. I did it for 3-4 years.
Yeah, I did the same.
And it over because it's.
I prefer the emeritus title to any sort of conference I start. Because they're a lot of work.
Yeah, we're still friends with these guys. I mean, they're amazing. They help us a lot. Getting started with Kubernetes Community Days Amsterdam. So Amsterdam, the Netherlands is 18 million people. We know each other. I mean, it's just living in a big village. Right?
Oh, so interesting. That's cool.
You see the same people all over the place, and
is it really neighborhoody, or like why does that happen?
Quite neighborhood. There are a few big events and big meetups, so it's nice. It's like being part of a community, of a family, right? So you see the same people, you start to establish bonds. Right. So it's good. It's a very compact country, and in the end, it's very technologically intensive. Yeah. Like all big companies, they're doing very cool, interesting stuff. That's why Kubernetes and cloud native is so popular here. Because
interesting.
Big communities of developers, big companies investing, so it's a lovely place. Yeah,
it's funny. I was just having a conversation with a prospective student too, because I teach at Boston University now, and Boston University, 30,000-ish students, and I was commenting on how weird it is, because it really does, like, they do a really good job of making it feel like it's not anywhere near that big. It has all these like sub communities and clubs and sports and all this stuff, and you really can find a group of people to like hang out with, which I'm very impressed with doing that at like a 30,000 scale, and I find that it's a difficult thing to pull off. So it's always kind of cool when you can find it anywhere.
That's why I think KubeCon, 10,000 people. I think we reach the ceiling. That's it. That's it. Let's not grow more than this, right? So
right. It's a big conference. So what was the thing that you were really hoping to see, or what did you hear about, or this particular conference that was super interesting?
So this was a cathartic moment, right? So in 2020, KubeCon was supposed to come to Amsterdam, right? So for me it was finally I can be the chaperone, I can show people around. I was so proud. Everybody was very, very excited about it. That was just a few weeks before we had to close everything for COVID. So, and then for 3 years we just waited. Right. It was a thing, and then and now it's finally happening. And it's when you have a dream, you really I think it's gonna be like this, and then it's even better than you expect. Right. So
that's awesome. I could totally see why that would be. I mean, I've really enjoyed it. I haven't actually been to the conference very much, but because I've been driving around doing interviews. But I'm hoping I'll have most of tomorrow free and maybe be able to go to some talks. But it's been, I really like this city. It's funny. My biggest exposure was because a lot of flights cross through Amsterdam. Amsterdam also often has a lot of weather, so I got stuck here for 3 days because my flights got canceled, but I was with like a colleague, and it was great. I was like, of all the places to get trapped for 3 days, I was like, I'll take it. I've enjoyed it a lot.
The very nature of the Netherlands and Amsterdam is one of trading. It's not coincidental that we have the biggest internet exchange in Europe.
Oh, interesting.
So all the gaming servers, all the gaming companies put their servers in Amsterdam because the latency is the lowest you can get.
Right.
And that's what they do. They are at the center of a big trading routes, and you can tell. I mean, so these people they really know how to interact with foreigners, right? So I hope everybody was feeling welcome here. There's a very simple transportation. In general, it's very, very easy to live.
I mean, I went last night, kind of last minute, to finally get a Metro Pass because I just hadn't had a chance to get one yet. And I think it took me, like 15 seconds to get a 4-day Metro Pass. I was like set. I was like, great, this is easy. But it's interesting that you say that because, in India, Hyderabad is also traditionally a big trading center, but it is now also a big tech hub. And I wonder if there's kind of some sort of correlation there. It's interesting. I never really thought about it. But it's kind of, interesting. So you're now at Solo, right?
It was a big
how long have you been there?
Oh, just 4 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So after 6 years at Microsoft, which I absolutely love every minute of it.
Okay. What were you doing at Microsoft?
I was a software engineer, so
like inside engineering, like building stuff.
We were part of a team that it's more like a customer facing engineering. So we were working with big customers, and we were in big projects, so really interesting. You see production workloads, you can really tell. But on the other side, we were also interacting with engineering a lot. I was there for 6 years. I've seen AKS being created from nothing, the first container platform on Azure. It was instructive. I learned a lot, and I'm glad I was there at that moment. And it's a great culture, amazing people. So I didn't left because I didn't like it. I left because I needed a new challenge. And I was very inspired by the leadership at Solo, the story, the technical product fit was amazing. Its service mesh, I think, is what Kubernetes felt like a few years ago. Was a lot of innovation. They strive to provide the best value, and the new cool things are happening there. AVPF and Solo ticks all the box. I mean, and is always there when there's a hard technical challenge to fix. So that's why I joined. So and it's nice to be in a 200 ish organization. You can talk to everybody.
I really like startups. It's actually funny that you brought up about Microsoft. We actually have 2 people that I've kind of brought in to be instructors at Boston University. So some of our classes are focused around students doing software projects for like third parties, and for those classes we try to get industry people to teach them. But that kind of means it falls to me to kind of make sure they know things like how to grade and stuff like that. But 2 of them are both from Microsoft, and it's been really neat that Microsoft actually encourages them to participate in like teaching at a university. They give them like time off and stuff. I thought it was a really cool feature. I had no idea.
It's a place like that. So they encourage you to contribute to open source. There's a big open source program office. I was part of this open source movement within Microsoft, and it's not just a facade. It's really like really understand open source, and they know what is right. Maybe they don't do it all the time what is right, because of course
it's a slow moving company,
humans, right?
It's huge.
But they do understand. They get open source. That's why I joined. I mean, people were asking me questions because I'm a hardcore open source enthusiast. I'm a zealot, right? So for me, open source is the way, right? So, and when I joined Microsoft, people were wondering what got into me.
What were you thinking?
But it's I cherish my time in Microsoft. I hope maybe I'll be back.
Well, I will say, very suspicious of the move towards open source by Microsoft until I read Satya's autobiography, and I was like, okay, I think
Makes
they get
sense,
it.
right?
Like, it's like maybe the whole organization hasn't gotten there yet, but the CEO gets it, and it's gonna, so they'll get there eventually.
Yes.
And so I was super impressed by not only kind of the book, but then stuff that he's kind of said and thought, or whatever, since then has also been super interesting.
Yeah. When you have inspiring leadership, you also inspire to be a leader in your own way, So.
All right. So turning back to Solo. So what is it you're doing for Solo?
I'm a DevRel, so that's why also I joined, because I've been doing informally developer relations for a long time.
That's because it didn't exist until like 10 years ago, even though we all did it before that. Right. And then, because I joined Red Hat actually as DevRel.
There was no title. I mean, you just do it, right? So you do your work in the community, you talk about it because you have passion for technology, right?
Right. Well, and there's no other way, like, unless you have kind of developers talking to other developers about, how to consume the products or whatever, like how else, do you kind of drive the change that you want to see, So DevRel, and are you focused on a particular set of Solo's products, or are you kind of...
No, we mostly focus on the open source side. So Solo has the roots in open source. Right? We are big contributors to Istio, but also other eBPF and Cilium projects. So that our role is to brand awareness and helping developers and platform engineers to understand the technology. You talk about it because you love it and you want other people to understand it,
and so they can get the benefit too.
So you make our technology easy to digest. It's amazing, right? So and when people really get it because you explain it to them, that's the most amazing feeling in the world, right? So that's what I do. It's a lovely thing to do, because you have to have an engineering mindset, because you have to talk to your internal engineers to tell them, hey,
that's how I got out of DevRel. Is my long running joke is they got tired of me complaining and pulled me into engineering. So
you complain twice.
And now you have to fix it. I was like, but I actually before I left Red Hat, I left engineering and I went to more like a DevRel role, but specifically around service mesh and Knative and serverless, etc. Because that's it's fascinating to me. I really like event-driven architectures and serverless functions and that whole realm, and then service mesh is kind of the glue for all of that, right?
It's what I say now is my tagline. I'm on a mission to install a service mesh in every cluster, because every cluster deserves a service mesh.
Right. Because it'll be prettier.
And easier to manage, and it's a little price to pay for sure, but the advantages outweigh the little RAM and CPU that you have to spend on it.
Yeah, my biggest one of the things that's really hard when we're doing these projects for these third parties with the student teams or whatever is like the projects we're building many of the time are nowhere near sophisticated enough to use a lot of these kind of newer things, but we're starting to build more stuff that's like able to leverage like at least like serverless functions. And we're starting to get the students to get their heads wrapped around it, and it's just like it's the right way to build things, even though it's a very different way of building software than your traditional, kind of serial execution.
But you would not think to run a cluster without role-based access control today, right?
Right.
There was a time when it was like an add-on or something special.
Right.
And I think eventually service mesh will be the default add-on. The thing that you run because you cannot live without this very important things like security and observability.
Right. So, I think that's it's still kind of not easy enough in a sense. Like it's
like
still
airbag.
Right. Exactly.
Easy,
Right. And but I completely agree with you. It's that it's kind of where it's going. Although the flip side of that, some of the other things that have been going on, like that Solo is involved with, among others, but like eBPF, I also think is super interesting, especially. We were talking the other day about kind of low-level control plane manipulation using eBPF. Really neat, and I know Solo is a big contributor there too.
We again, we make eBPF a bit easier to consume and to use and to produce. So we have a project called Bumblebee. It's a wrapper around the eBPF, and it helps you getting started because it's all about that, right? So if you get more developers on board, smart developers, they just don't have the time to go through the whole documentation. You give them the tools, literally the tools to build and package, distribute eBPF programs. You got more people, more eyes, and more hands on deck, and the thing will be faster adopted. That's the point. So it's interesting now. Applications are getting more complex. There's application networking we talk about a lot, and of course you need more control and more security. And the eBPF is a technology that can give you that.
Right. So what do you? So we call this the KBE Insider Show, and so the idea of it is like, what do people who are kind of in the community or whatever see as the next big interesting thing? So like, what do you think's gonna, what are you most looking forward to 6 months from now, a year from now, aside from a service mesh in every cluster? And
I guess people answer AI and GPT a lot. I'm not looking forward to that.
Okay, all right.
I'm a ludist in that sense. I'm for a moratorium on large language models, but that's another story. No, definitely. See, this enthusiasm doesn't seem to abide. There's even more people coming into the fold of cloud native.
Right.
And I think definitely we need more education and more training. Right. So this was a big problem in OpenStack. There were not enough people that understood the project. The limiting factor is always the people, right? So the education. So I think that would be, and it's great that what you're doing, teaching students. It's a crucial part of growing a good community. It's so hard, right? Because you really are changing how you have to think about your software, and I think that's like I said, using, let's loosely call it. Why does that happen? It's the traffic information.
Oh, okay.
It's telling you that we are stopping line.
Oh, all right.
It's giving you the information that you already have.
Right. I can tell. All right. But so when you're taught to program or you're doing kind of traditional applications, everything is very serial. It's very kind of point A to point B, and when you start introducing things like events or like serverless functions or kind of like a service mesh, especially if you have like service meshes that crisscross clusters. Like, it's very hard to have a sense of what's going to happen next in your code. And people find that very difficult to wrap their head around. And I think that's what makes the education for it so challenging.
Yeah. When we were doing DevOps and we were thinking, well, we like this stuff, right? So we are the 1% of the IT engineers around the world, right? So, and it's the people that, you know, they work 9 to 5 and then they go home, and we need to code for them, because these are the people that we need to make it easy for, right? So just make it just easy to consume. It's not easy. We don't have a magic wand to just make Kubernetes disappear and be there
and
for
everything
everybody.
just work.
But it will be big in the future. So, and of course, like I just gave a talk about GitOps, and it's definitely a different way to think about the same thing, which is always the same. You know, application needs to be deployed, right? But that's how you do it that matters now. So.
Right. And I think people kind of understanding that, you know, I mean, a lot of it is building intolerance for, you know, kind of change, right? You know, either because, you know, somebody changes teams, or whatever. Like, we just want to make sure that there's, you know, we need more automation. We need more, you know, computers doing the work that doesn't really need humans. We just have to tell it how to do it. And but that's a very different, like, experience. You know, what they say, like, declarative versus imperative. It's just straight up. I think a lot of people find very confusing. Yeah,
but then, you know, we do this automation thing because we want people to focus more on the application, right? So, but then we gotta do it. Enough automation. Now it's time to, you know, focus more on the application side of things. So, so sometimes it's just when is automation too much? That's the point.
That one's also hard, right? It's like, you know, do you set it all up at the beginning, right, and make this huge investment in kind of setting up all the automation, and then discover that, oh, it's probably invariably going to be wrong somehow. You know, and trying to find, I think that's kind of where the experience comes in, is like trying to find that happy medium between enough automation and enough, you know, but not too much, because you know there's going to be change. It's a very hard balance.
Maybe engineers should be more aware of the total cost of ownership of software, right? So, which means, yes, okay, it's easy to set up, but if you have to spend a lot of time maintaining it, then you may be better off with something a bit more complex in the beginning, where it requires less maintenance. And you know, it's hard. I think to find that balance, you know, kind of either direction. But it's fun. I think it's
I like it too.
It's one of the fun side of this job, right? So,
well, one of the ways I used to convince people about, you know, kind of doing, you know, things a little bit more properly, you know, from GitOps to, you know, event-driven or whatever, is like, hey, just keep in mind, right? Yes, there's some grunt work here that you have to do to set all this stuff up, but what it's going to give you is more time to write the fun code. You know, and I think that's where, like, that's the sell, you know,
the emoji and the cat memes and all this stuff. So much time now. No, but it's I always ask myself, do I want to be woken up at 3 o'clock at night to fix this, or
never.
I'd rather sleep, you know? So
it's always that's one of my kind of old jokes about DevOps is, you know, when we had the true advent of DevOps kind of coming in, you know, I was kind of like, well, you know, as a developer, I'm not sure I like this whole DevOps idea, because the throwing it over the wall and then somebody else gets woken up, I'm fine with that, you know. But if I have to get woken up, that means I have to work on code better.
No one needs to wake up, right? So what about, like, we work together, so software works, or self-healing, or self-correcting, and then we can all enjoy our time, because sleeping is very important, by the way. I realize that, and maybe we don't get much sleep in this job, right? So well, the other part too is, you know, it's kind of the, you know, you don't hear this that much anymore, but like internet gremlins, you know, where just there's gremlins on the internet who go around and break your stuff
we don't know who they are or what they are or why they happen, but I think they're often inexplicable, unrepeatable, and so if you're kind of building your systems to tolerate the simple issues, you also get to some of those as well, and there's less internet gremlins waking you up in the middle of the night too, which is huge.
I was lucky enough. I was at Tom Limoncelli lecture once, and he told this story like, okay, that's why you have to do the hard things more often and more, because the first time you're gonna fail so much. You're gonna have like 20 pages full of bugs. But the second time you're gonna have 10 pages, and then a bit less. It's never gonna go away, but the hard things has to be done first and foremost. So it's a great lesson. It's good for life as well, but especially good for IT infrastructure and development.
I still remember one of my professors in college told us as a class, that once we became real professionals, we would stop having syntax errors in our code. And I was like, no, still have them all the time. It's pretty funny. I was like, no, you don't ever stop writing bugs. It's kind of like you just get used to it and you get really good at fixing them fast. But you don't ever actually get rid of them.
That's why GitHub Copilot is great, of course, saves time, but then you don't get it because somebody is fixing it for you.
Right. I totally hear you. So what else? What else do you see as next? What other interesting things do you see on the horizon?
Well, definitely we see the rise of APIs, and cloud native APIs gateways. So that's a big thing for us. We believe that the world runs on API, and it's time to tame the complexity and put them under better control and better supported better. And I think cloud native gateway. So Kubernetes is expanding also including also the API gateway. So this is one thing we really care about, making the developer experience better and having good self-describing APIs. I think makes your professional life much easier for a developer. So this is what we are investing as well.
I would definitely agree with that. Actually, it was funny, we periodically, as part of the program that supports the student team projects, periodically we have these like ideation sessions where a student kind of comes and we have some expertise in the room, and they say, well, I got this idea, what could I do to do it, right? And and we had this conversation with a student the other day, and I'm like trying to explain to them, it's like, no, you want to write as little code as possible. Like you want to be trying to find some API or whatever that will do as much of the work of your tool as you can get, and it's that glue that is your value. Right. And I think when you're, doing a computer science degree or something, it's not obvious that that's what modern software development, if not should be,
True. My future wife, we're gonna get married in a month.
Oh, congratulations! Or almost congratulations.
She's learning coding.
Oh, okay.
And she.
I thought you meant to put up with you.
No. But she's learning coding, and then she didn't get all API thing, and she said, "That's it. I mean, that's all I need to code. Just a wrapper around some API. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
all you need to code."
But it's not. It's one of those justs, right? In the sense of but you have to know the API exists. You have to know that what it does. You have to know that it's going to fulfill the goal that you have, right? And so it's like a lot of things where if you're a really serious expert, you just do this one little thing. There was actually a TikTok meme about this of like, I just charged you $1,000 to go fix your door, and all I did was hit it once with a hammer. And the $1,000 is not the time it takes to hit it with the hammer. It's knowing what to hit. And it's really like what I really like about modern software is that it's becoming more and more like that. I mean, it's always been a bit like that, but you had to do a lot more hanging of the door than you do today.
The wrapper matters. The security, it really matters. So sure, there's an API, but how you wrap it up and glue it together. Our product is called Glue, by the way. That's the reason.
Well, right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
So how you glue it together really matters. So
it's really important.
That's something. There are trends, of course. I mean, this is one of course.
Right.
Service mesh. We are so happy. I'm in the right place.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm also eagerly waiting for what is going to happen, right? So,
right. As that's I think when you're seriously into tech, you're kind of always are, right?
Yeah. I still feel like the kid who installed Linux from floppy disks.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In
and I finally, I was trying to remember earlier. I blanked on Slackware, and I realized
it was my first one.
Yeah, me too. And
0.9. You remember when you had to compile the kernel with
I never had to compile it, but I did have to be careful of the monitor resolution, so it wouldn't light the monitor on fire. Yeah, and so Vincent Batts, who
I know Vincent Batts.
Yeah, so you know he was a Slackware maintainer.
Yes,
like
yes, amazing,
top level, hilarious. But thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed our little drive around Amsterdam. Although I think you've seen it probably before.
Yeah, we were sorry, but it was a great time. Blast from the past.
Yeah.
We reminisce great things like Slackware and Linux.
Right.
It's great.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And back to KubeCon.
Yeah, exactly.